All right, let's talk about a major battle brewing in the United States, one that could seriously define the entire future of crypto. And look, this isn't about the latest price swings, this is about the fundamental rules of the game. We're going to break down something called the Clarity Act, a piece of legislation that could be the ultimate launchpad for this industry, or the cage that grounds it for good. And that's really the million-dollar question, isn't it? Will this law finally give crypto the clear, predictable rules it needs to just explode into the mainstream? Or will it wrap the whole thing up in so much red tape that innovation just grinds to a halt? To figure that out, we've got to understand the problem it's trying to solve in the first place.
So, to really get why this law is such a massive deal, you have to look past the day-to-day price charts. Seriously, this fight is about something way bigger. It's about the very foundation, the rules that are going to govern this entire industry for decades to come.
To understand why this law is even on the table, you just have to look at the situation right now. And honestly, crypto regulation in the US is just chaos. It's a genuine Wild West. Companies have no idea what rules they're supposed to play by, and maybe even worse, nobody seems to be sure who the sheriff is.
And that's the real problem. There's no clear answer to who's in charge. This complete lack of clarity creates this cloud of uncertainty that just paralyzes innovation. And it totally scares off the big institutional investors. You know, the ones who need predictable, stable rules before they're ever going to jump into this market.
Now this slide shows the core of the problem perfectly. It's a clash of titans. On one side, you've got the SEC. Their job is to regulate investments, so naturally they look at a lot of crypto assets and see securities, like stocks. But on the other side, you have the CFTC, which handles things like raw materials, and they see commodities like gold or oil. This isn't just a small disagreement, it's a fundamental conflict that leads to lawsuits and confusion, and really, it doesn't help anyone.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem. Let's talk about the proposed solution. This is where the Clarity Act steps in. It's this ambitious, bipartisan bill championed by people like Senator Cynthia Lummis, who's a really vocal crypto advocate in Congress. And its goal is super simple: end the chaos.
So how would it actually work? Well, the Act lays out a pretty straightforward three-step plan. First, assign clear roles. Tell each agency what their job is so they stop tripping over each other. Second, define the assets. Draw a bright, clear line between what counts as a digital commodity and what counts as a security. And third, and this one is absolutely crucial, create a clear legal path so crypto projects know exactly what they need to do to operate legally.
But of course, proposing a neat solution is one thing. Actually passing it into law is a whole different beast. The road ahead for the Clarity Act is packed with obstacles, and right now, the biggest ones are a mix of pure politics and, well, very, very big money.
The main political roadblock actually has a name: Senator Cory Booker. He's put a condition on the table that has basically stalled the entire bill, and his demand really gets at the power structure of these regulatory agencies themselves.
So here's the crucial point to understand. Senator Booker's concern isn't really about Bitcoin or Ethereum, it's about control. He's worried about potential political influence from a future Trump administration on these powerful financial regulators, and he wants to make sure these agencies remain independent.
Okay, let's set the politics aside for just a moment and talk about the economic side of things, because the numbers being thrown around here are just staggering. Some analysts are projecting that clear rules could unlock an absolute avalanche of institutional money. We're talking over $5 trillion by 2026. Big investment funds, they hate ambiguity. The Clarity Act could be the exact green light they have been waiting for. And to make that huge number feel a bit more real, just look at a specific case like XRP. That community is on the edge of its seat, speculating that if this law passes, the value could just skyrocket. A lot of folks remember that incredible 35,000% run back in 2017, and they're dreaming that a solid regulatory framework could trigger something just like it. But hey, not everyone is celebrating this. There are some very critical voices out there, like the American Federation of Teachers, which represents almost 2 million members. They're worried that this law would legitimize assets that they see as way too risky to be included in pension funds. They're essentially afraid it could put the retirement savings of millions of workers in jeopardy. And all of this brings us right back to the core of the issue. See, this debate isn't just about money or politics. At its heart, it's a fundamental disagreement over what makes a cryptocurrency project secure, mature, and, at the end of the day, actually viable. And this right here illustrates that technical debate perfectly. The Clarity Act basically defines a mature blockchain as one that is sufficiently decentralized. But its critics say, whoa, not so fast.
that's not enough. For them, a mature network has to be decentralized, yes, but it also has to be reliable, it has to be scalable, and it has to be able to operate without crashing to actually be useful in the real world.
Which brings us full circle, right back to that final, massive question that sums up this entire tension. Will the Clarity Act and the regulation it represents end up being the cage that limits the incredible innovative potential of this technology? Or will it be the launchpad that it desperately needs to finally achieve massive global adoption? The future of digital assets, well, it really does hang in the balance.